Welcome to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Welcome to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. We have a very special show today. We're going to be talking about education. That's the subject today. Education, FAFSA, student loan debt. Hello. And other items related to education. So here we go. Allow me to introduce our guest today. And I'm going to go from my left to my right. We have Brad Gelder. And Brad is a consumer attorney for Community Legal Services of Arizona. And you have been with us before, and it was because of that show that we left a subject pending, and that is the student loan debt. So, Brad, thank you so much, and welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me on, and I'm looking forward to participating.
Perfect. We also have Christopher Seidel. Oh, I got it.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
Christopher Seidel. And Christopher, you are the Strategic Operations Coordinator with College Depot at Phoenix Public Library. So that means you're there at the library, at the Burton Bard Central Library on the second floor, correct?
But yeah, Burton Bard Central Library, right down the street from where we're at right now on Central Avenue in McDowell.
Do you get a lot of traffic, a lot of visitors to your services?
Absolutely. Actually, in July was our busiest month on record for College Depot. That's College Depot only. The library itself sees about 1 million customers each year between the 5 different floors and all the different programs, services that we provide.
Thank you, and welcome. So now to my right, we have Melissa Pizzo from ASU.
Yes.
And you work in admissions, was it?
Yes, our enrollment services area, and I oversee our financial aid and scholarship services.
Enrollment. So you get to see a lot of this FAFSA students coming in and trying to make sense of how they're going to pay for education. Right?
Sure, absolutely. It's an exciting time to work with the student and family to help them understand what degree program they might want to pursue, attending the university, and how they can identify resources to help pay for it.
Of course. So let's start with my first question, and I send you the PowerPoint basically of what the idea of how to address this issue. First of all, when somebody contemplates college, university, going to pursuing a career, what are the cost items that parents or students need to think about? Cost items. Anyway.
So before we jump into cost, I think one thing we always want to make sure students and families are doing is understanding what their interests are and how to choose that path for them of their degree program and potential career. I will offer the opportunity. ASU does have a tool for students to be able to utilize. It's called Me3, and it is an option for a student. They log in, they create an account. It is based on research and science in terms of the career interest area, and a student makes decisions between visual representations, pictures, pairs of pictures. And based on that, they'll get their results, and it'll give them an indication of what type of a career that, based on what their leanings are towards. It will present about 3 different options for them for their careers to start looking into and researching. And then that does also tie into a degree program at the university. From there, we obviously want to work with students and families to understand, yes, what are the costs associated with attending a college or university. It's very important for a student and family to look at all of their options, They may have multiple options they're looking at, and be cognizant of each school and any deadlines that they need to follow for submission of the free application for federal student aid. Stands for FAFSA. That'll help identify the resources available to students to help pay. And the things that they pay for are tuition, Books. You need your books for your classes. Things have changed over time. Some of those books may be electronic books, maybe supplemental supplies, those kinds of things.
Right.
No different than what a student may be using currently in a high school setting or a community college setting. And then there are other things that is really up to the student and family to decide on. Housing. Students
If they're
can
gonna
live
live on campus or not.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So there may be differences in cost for that.
It's a variety of items that they
Sure,
have to
absolutely.
be considered.
Yeah.
And transportation, meals, and all
Sure,
that good
and
stuff.
some of those things are things they're already paying for, right? Or the household is paying for. But yes, if a student chooses to live on campus, then yeah, they might be purchasing a meal plan that they might not have the ability to go, right? The intent is not to go back and forth between home and living on campus, so they would eat on campus or nearby. So certainly want to make sure there are enough funds to be able to purchase the food, and we want our students to be healthy and engaged and active in their education, and food certainly helps with that.
Wow, it's a lot of considerations. Now,
Yes.
Christopher, Melissa mentioned the first item, and it's obviously the most important one because you don't want to go and perhaps incur in a lot of debt and pursue a degree that maybe is not the best for you. So obviously that has to be the first step, right? In kind of figuring out what your interests are, your skill set, and whether that job that you are pursuing, whether there are jobs out there or not. So is that also your first consideration when helping folks that visit your center?
Excuse me, almost. I think the first thing when cost comes to mind, especially when you're dealing with like first generation families, so students whose parents never went to college, the first thing they think of when they think about cost is limitation, like barrier, like it's too expensive, like unaffordable. Like you talk about student loans and debt and default, and you just like hear all these different things that go out there, and so people just automatically can automatically write college off, or it's a long shot just because of this fear of incurring all this debt, of this cost that you can't pay, and so a lot of people who could go to college may think of other options just because of that. So the first thing, and we're going to get more into the scholarships and all that kind of things like that, but the first thing is that yes, the costs are getting higher and higher every day, but there is so much scholarships and financial aid available. I can't tell you how many times I've worked with students at College Depot where them or their families come in and they're just thinking like, I don't know if I can go to college, or maybe I can just do a 2-year degree. And then by the end of an appointment or several appointments, like they realize, oh my God, I can do this all for free without anything.
Wow.
I can even live on campus, without taking out a single loan or making a single, payment, working a second job. So
you mean is that extreme from somebody who perhaps thought that they couldn't afford college?
Right.
To a point where then maybe everything is paid off just by visiting one of your centers and getting the full picture of going to college.
Right.
Right.
And there's just so many different resources, and I'm not trying to get ahead of the game, but I just want to automatically, I don't want people to, when you think about the cost, there's just so much out there, and there's so many different, like there's us, and there's just ASU, like every university, every institution, like they're all there to make sure that you can be their student, right? So there's help out there, no matter where you're at, in Phoenix or statewide or wherever, to get access to all of that.
So again, number one, I mean, everybody or anybody that is trying to pursue a career, they have to find out what their interests are. I mean, you don't want to have, just because you had your grandpa or you had a dream that you wanted to be a doctor, you don't want to pursue that career unless you really want to be a doctor, not just because somebody told you. So pursuing a career, selecting a career, matching the career with skill sets, etc., has to be super important, Melissa, isn't it?
It is, and that's really often what a student learns while they're in school, even after high school, right? What things they can do while in high school: attend summer camps, participate in extracurricular activities at their school. There are often those opportunities at younger ages to start identifying what those interests are. Once they come to the university, we do encourage them to select their major and start in a major, but they do also have the option to be in what we call an exploratory major. And that does allow them the opportunity to take a few classes, maybe go down the path of where they think their interest is. Right. I think what we're doing and what higher education is doing when we talk about it, teaching students how to learn and teaching students how to adapt. They will learn content and knowledge in a specific area, but things change over time, and they need to be able to understand where to go for resources, how to research an issue and a concern, how to use data to their advantage, regardless of what degree program they may choose or career. So really what they're doing with that post-secondary education that I experienced is learning how to be in a role, adjust, grow, develop, contribute. It's our president often talks about we're teaching students how to learn and how to be knowledgeable and be in a knowledge-based economy. How do you use the skills you're learning and the content you're learning to be able to help yourself, right, in the short term and the long term? It's teaching people how to learn.
And with education, it starts in K through 12. I mean, if you have to do, it's like stepping stones, right? You kind of have to learn what you need to learn in each level. I honestly, sometimes I feel sorry for my son. I have a 16-year-old son. He comes from school. He basically starts doing homework, and then he plays a little games here, and then continues to do homework. I said, man, where do the kids have some free time? They don't. But that's what it takes to get ready for college. I mean, unless they're super gifted people that sometimes they don't even need to study, but there's not that many out there. Most of us have to work hard. So now let's kind of land now in one of the two major points that we want to address in this show. And again, that's FAFSA. And the other one is going to be the student loan debt, which, this is a big item. And these are going to be the two big points that we're going to address. So let's land in FAFSA. So everybody that goes to college pretty much completes FAFSA. Am I correct? So tell us what it is and what basically you need to feed on that application, because that's what it is. It's an application. And what will FAFSA do for you, kind of?
Well, the FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. And so basically it's square one. It's the cornerstone of the majority of financial aid and scholarships that are out there. So it's an application that a student fills out starting October 1st of each school year. So here in a few weeks, actually. So it's an application, free application, I should say, that students fill out, and they look at the financial information for the family as a whole. So if you're 17 years old, about to graduate from high school, planning to go forward into college, then they're going to ask for your family's information. So that would be your parents. Of course, that there are some exceptions to that, but to fill that out, and basically it's just to determine the financial need of the student. The goal of the FAFSA, filling it out, is just to determine whether or not the family can afford to pay for college on their own based on their income. If they cannot, if the application determines that they cannot, then they qualify for up to $6,095 per year in grant, which is basically like a scholarship from the government that isn't needed to be paid back.
Okay, so let's repeat the whole thing.
Okay.
Piece by piece, a little slower.
Okay, my bad. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is an application, and the student fills it out, right? Is this an online? Obviously.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so they go to the computer. They go on. What's the website?
FAFSA.gov, FAFSA.gov.
Okay.
I do want to also interject. What's really great about this upcoming FAFSA cycle is the Department of Education is launching a mobile app. So students can download a mobile app. They can, we know everybody has a smartphone pretty much these days, and that's a great way to go ahead and present that information and share that information, fill out that application. So students and families can utilize the mobile app. Starting on October 1st, and then they, based on the questions that are posed to them, they answer those questions and submit that information.
So the person will submit income. Primarily, I have to believe that what the application wants to know is whether this student whether this student is able to pay for his or herself, and if not, what are the alternatives of funding sources to get some help. Is that kind of like the concept? That's it's more of it's like an assessment of the financial situation of the student, correct? Yeah,
just like a parent, and I could be, correct me if I'm wrong enough, just like a parent would fill out certain forms to determine if they qualify for food stamps or SNAP, things like that. It's a similar process, and in fact they use similar measurements. So if a family does qualify for food stamp, or is it SNAP now?
SNAP.
EBT card. Like if they qualify for that, then you can almost guarantee that they're going to qualify for grants from the FAFSA as well. So.
Okay. So income, does this mean just income, whether they own homes, whether they have savings in the bank? What sort of, can you elaborate just a little bit more on what type of questions they are asked on that application?
Yeah, that's all correct. It's those questions. Anything in savings, whether the student has anything in savings or the family, the number of individuals in the household, the number of individuals of the family in college. So those are some of the major components that are captured from that form that are asked about and then utilized to determine what the student is eligible to receive.
If you have another person in the family going to college, will that, I assume that would help? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so on the back end, there's a formula, right, that the Department of Education facilitates. And so that they take all that information in, and that's kind of the information that comes back once it's submitted.
So I think it's safe to say that if the less money you have, most likely the more you're going to be helped with, correct?
Yeah, that is almost entirely accurate.
And if you have 100,000, 200,000 income, you're probably not going to get a lot of help, at least from the first stage of the application.
Right. The first stage, yes. Yeah.
Wow, this is pretty interesting.
Right. Yeah.
Now, so paint me two scenarios. So let's go with somebody who is middle class, maybe lower middle income. Let me just say middle income, lower middle income. They will get, potentially a lot of help. So, but it'll depend on what university they're going to, what the cost is, the career, and all that.
Sure.
So let's say, is it realistic to think that in some cases everything will be paid off? Especially, like I said, in this range of income. You want to say something?
No, I would like him to answer first.
Okay.
I will throw in my 2 cents.
Perfect.
Cool. All right. So that is an interesting question. So just to be direct, yes, it's there's been a countless number of students that we've helped who have gotten full rights to school based off, and it comes from financial need, comes from their academics, it comes from how diligent they are in applying for additional scholarships. So so there's a lot of different things, and financial need is a huge one. However, like there are. So what we teach in our center when students are looking at different schools and universities is to have 3 different categories, right? So you have your safety schools, your match schools, and your reach schools. So basically look at multiple options. So just like when you're applying for a job, it's like this is the job I really want. I'll accept this job. This one, I probably got that one in the bag.
My situation has changed since my last 2 children went to school, and I'm waiting for the 3rd one, and I know I'm gonna have to pay a lot of more money than we didn't get. We got a lot of help actually with my first 2 children. Now we'll see, because now he's the only one.
Yeah.
My income probably increased a little bit from the time that the other ones went to school, etc. So, Brad, go ahead.
Not to be a gloom monger, but the latest statistics: 44 million student loan borrowers in the United States. $1.5 trillion in student loans owed in the United States. It's the second highest debt category after mortgage debt in the United States. The class of 2016, the average debt they left with exceeded $37,000. More than $32 billion in student loans are presently delinquent.
Okay, so your point here is that taking loans is a serious thing, and they really have to know what they're doing, if I'm understanding it right, because you can end up in debt, and then that's why selecting the proper career and getting the chances of finding a job, etc. there, so that you're able to repay your loan.
That, and the second most important thing is when you graduate with this debt, find out what you can do to reduce the obligation monthly and in total. And there are things to do.
With those?
Yes.
Okay. So stay tuned.
Can I interject?
Real quick, we have to go on a break.
Yeah, but a more local borrowing indebtedness from our public universities, students who graduate with debt, 23,844, significantly below the national indebtedness level students are receiving a lot of aid to complete those degrees. So we want to make sure that we're representing what's happening here in Arizona with our students attending our local public universities.
Perfect. Let's take a break and we'll come back. This is going to be really, really good. Stay with us. This is AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection. We'll be right back.
Welcome to AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection. Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Thank you for staying with us. This is AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection. The subject today, education, FAFSA, student loan debt, and other. So again, very, very important. It seems like we wanted to talk about FAFSA, and we're really kind of including the concept of how important it is to get ready for college, to pick up the right career, because again, in many instances, loans are not, I guess, it's not a big deal, especially if you have less income. You're probably going to get a lot of help. But then once you start making more money, the help might not be there. And then if for whatever reason you choose the wrong career and then you don't get a job, then there's the loan again waiting for you. So I suppose that there has to be, this has to be taken very, very seriously, the whole process of loans, careers, assessments, etc. So, Christopher, you wanted to add a little bit.
Just to come off that, I think, and I'm not an economist or anything like that, but one of the things that I see with the students that we work with, and even myself in my own pathway, is just understanding the school that you go to and the price tag that comes along with it, and the amount of financial aid and scholarships that each school is offering. So it's very easy for somebody to sign on for $40,000 in debt, sometimes not even necessarily knowingly, when they can get the exact same degree, maybe for free or maybe for a significantly smaller amount. So I think one thing that we do, like, we're entirely neutral in what we do, but help the student first find out, what, and just for listeners out there, it's just first important thing is, like, what is the end goal? Like, what is the career goal? What are the majors that lead to that? And what are the different schools that offer that? And then which is going to give me the best bang for my buck? And that way, doing research, just like before you buy a house, you're not going to go straight for a BMW or a home. Like, you do research on the different costs, and you spend a lot of time just finding out, like, which is going to be the most economical pathway for me. And if you do that from an informed perspective, then you're much less likely to take on tens of thousands of dollars in debt.
Yeah. Let's help me here with the issue of FAFSA again. So FAFSA does an assessment based on the information you feed to it. And it'll tell you, what did we say was a package, right? Is it a financial
aid package?
Financial aid package. So can you tell us what that package looks like, and at least the items that it may include?
Actually, I think Melissa may be able to comment a little bit more on that.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. When we talk about financial aid for students, it's a very individualized experience, right? Based on the questions, how they're answering it on the FAFSA, the information they're going to get back will be based on their situation. The financial aid notification that colleges and schools provide to the students take into that cost of attendance, the tuition we talked about, the books, the housing, the meals, and then it takes into consideration the financial aid they might have. So, right, it's kind of this partnership. What can the student and family get from the federal government? What can they get from the college or school they're attending?
So the federal government aid, is that called grants?
The Pell Grant is a federal funded
from
grant,
the federal government,
correct.
Tax dollars from us, the taxpayers.
Yes, in some capacity, yes.
And that money you do not have to pay back?
Correct. Anything that's a grant, a scholarship, we put it under an umbrella. We call it gift aid, right? Just like a gift, you get a gift. It's something that someone gives to you, you don't give it back.
Now, is it possible to get scholarships within the FAFSA environment?
The FAFSA itself does not necessarily provide scholarships. What it does
Not
colleges
even from
and
the school?
colleges and schools may have criteria that they look at information from the FAFSA to determine what you're eligible for. Private donors in the community or who donate to the schools and the universities may say, I want a student who has need. We talked about it can demonstrate need. Maybe there's still a merit component to that, right? Their academics from school. Maybe it's based on some other type of performance, involvement, engagement. So the FAFSA can be used for some criteria for scholarships, but not always.
So basically, scholarships is something that each individual is going to have to go and shop.
Correct.
Basically,
yeah.
I remember my son, he got several scholarships, but he said he wrote something like 25 applications.
Yeah,
so
sure,
you
absolutely.
really have to write applications to everywhere to see what you can do. And I actually have a family member who got so much financial aid that she basically had extra money.
Yeah.
Is that a possibility too?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
And then when you're talking about those other costs that aren't necessarily thought about, like transportation or a laptop, like laptop is essential if you're going to be successful in school. So you can pay for those different things. So you can.
So let's come back to you, Brad, because I mean, you come from. I suppose you are very aware of, the student loan debt, what it costs to a person, family. You seem to have, pretty strong feeling about loans. Are you saying to be careful? Are you saying not to get them? What are you saying? And how prevalent is this problem with student debt?
Well, I'd like to first of all echo what Christopher said about how important it is to make the right choices up front. Do you go the first 2 years to a 4-year institution or a community college? But what I'd like to impress upon people is the need to deal with the debt when you graduate with it, because there's no statute of limitations on the federal government collecting back student debt.
What does that mean? That means they can
do it,
and you owe it.
You owe it.
There's
you owe
no
it until you die.
Okay.
You are discharged when you die.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the only way?
Well, no, that's not the only way. I don't know how much detail you want to get into now, but
let's do it.
Okay. First of all, let's distinguish between federal and private student loans.
Okay.
The only thing they share in common is that, for all intents and purposes, you can't get rid of them in bankruptcy except in very unusual circumstances. A private student loan is like a credit card debt, like any other debt. The loan holder would have to sue you to pursue it, and we can assist you, or we can provide advice if you have a private student loan debt in addition or in lieu of federal student loans. The 3 ways that we help people deal with student loan debt are discharge, repayment programs, and deferment. And that's in order of preference. If you discharge a debt administratively through the Department of Education, you don't owe it anymore. The primary example of this is someone who is on disability income and will never be able to work again. That's the primary avenue of discharge. There are others. Repayment program is you get in a program through your loan servicer that tailors your monthly repayment obligation to your income. And of course, that can change from year to year.
What does that mean? Tailor it to your income. They basically reassess and see your income and lower your payment?
Yes. Typically, the loan agreement is for 10 years initially. But if you get in a repayment program, it's a whole new set of criteria. And typically, our clients who qualify for our services, their monthly payment may well be between $0 and $5 a month. And at the end of a given time period, normally 20 to 25 years, that entire debt is forgiven, regardless of what the loan balance is. because of interest, you may not have lowered your balance a penny. In fact, it may have greatly increased. But still, if you make your payments tailored to your income under your repayment program, that debt is gone after 20 or 25 years.
David, if I may interject,
yes,
you brought up a good point, Brad, that, you talk about interest. I think we do educate students and families as you are borrowing loans, right? They can be a resource to help pay for your degree, which, we know those who have a degree earn $1 million more over the course of their lifetime. When you get that loan, you can make payments on your loan while you're in school. Even making the minimum payment of your interest while you're still in school helps reduce what is owed right at that end. Kind of to your point, Brad, right? That interest accrues. But if you're paying on that interest while you're in school, you're not getting that additional
Does interest accrue while you're in school?
Depends on the type of loan you have.
Yeah.
But yes.
That's what I was going to ask, because I think with my son, there was no interest owed until he graduated, and I think it was like either 6 months after. Or
Correct.
But so you're saying it depends on the loan?
Yeah, there are two different types of loans the federal government provides for students, and one, it's called a subsidized loan. That's where the interest starts 6 months after graduation, or an unsubsidized loan. And again, these are based on need level. Right. An unsubsidized loan, that interest starts accruing once that loan has been provided.
And you are saying that if the person is able to, that it is recommended to start paying the loan even while going to school.
Yeah, even the interest on the loan. $20 a month?
The interest liability.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Okay, so go ahead, Brad, because these are ways, this is actions that people that are, let me just use the term drown or underwater, as sometimes they say. People who are underwater with student loan debt. So what are those?
Okay, so let's say they haven't made a payment for more than 9 months. Then they're in a default status. Now, at that point, what they can do is rehabilitate the loan through their loan servicer. And again, I think you have to make 8 payments during a 9-month period. And again, typically for our clients, this payment amount is minimal, $0 or $5. Then at the end of that rehabilitation period, then they get into a loan repayment program, and typically the payment remains the same. But again, as their income increases, their payment obligation will increase. But typically when they start, it's extremely minimal for our clients.
Okay, we have to go on our short break. This is really, really good because on the one hand, we're learning that FAFSA has lots to offer. And then we also have to, but we're seeing that in some instances, the loan can be a problem, an issue, and there are options. So stay with us. This is AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. We'll be right back.
Welcome to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Thank you for staying with us. This is AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. The subject today, education, FAFSA, student loan debt, and other. This is a very, very important subject, I believe. I mean, I think it's no secret that from now on, having a degree to get jobs is going to be critical.
Absolutely.
Jobs, actually, what is Mr. Crow is the president of ASU, correct?
Yeah,
what
President
is his first name?
Dr. Michael Crow.
Yeah, Dr. Michael Crow. I have heard him say several times of the number of jobs that now require at least a high school education. Now we're moving into this sphere of jobs requiring higher than high school.
Sure, and some of that is tied to what we've seen in the economy and the shifts in that, and especially rebounding from the recession. The jobs that are coming back are those that require the degree, and those that are not coming back are those that only require a high school.
Amazing.
So it really is imperative that students pursue some post-secondary option, right? There are a lot of options out there. Obviously, I'm representing a 4-year public university, but there are many paths out there. But there is something required after high school.
And technology is actually eliminating a lot of jobs for which perhaps there was no need for, higher education.
Sure.
And that's another factor that we're having to deal with. Now, Christopher, in your field, right? Do you also offer the alternative of folks or to students who visit you in terms of whether a community college might be a better route for them? Is that something that you also contemplate in advising students?
Absolutely. Our goal is to connect the right student to the right path for them individually. And a huge part of what we do is helping them discover the paths that are out there. And so it could be, Melissa mentioned, there's like several different things. It could be an 18-month apprenticeship program. And then they're good to go making $60K a year as an electrician or whatever. And I don't know if electrician is 18 months, but there's just a ton of different things. And it just, it really comes down to the student, to the person, and what their ultimate goals are, what their long-term and short-term goals. And so we do help with that. But it could be, I know myself, like I actually got my GED, and then I went to community college, got my associate degree in secondary education, transferred to ASU on a scholarship, and got my bachelor's in Spanish, and then I most recently got my master's. So there's so many different.
Spanish?
I do speak Spanish.
But you're not Latino.
No.
Congratulations and thank you.
Okay, I don't know how to take that, but I will receive it very well. So I appreciate it. But
can you just ballpark what is the differential per unit, the cost per unit when you go to a community college to university? Is that like a 1 to 2, 1 to 3?
Well, if you just look at the price,
because sorry to interrupt, but I have heard people who are very versed and understand the system, the educational system, that they are very, very in pro of, especially when money is an issue, to go first to a community college and then transfer.
So that's interesting. I don't know the exact ratio right offhand, and it's because it really depends on the situation. I'll try to be quick. It depends on the student, right? It can actually be cheaper for someone to go straight to ASU as a freshman, than it would be for somebody as going to community college and then transferring. And this is why the majority of scholarships that are out there are offered to to graduating high school seniors, right? First year freshmen. So if a student does go to community, and I'm not against it, I did it myself, right? So I'm just saying, I'm not saying that this is the standard path.
So one size doesn't fit all.
One size does not fit all.
Every situation.
It depends on financial need, academics. It depends on the student. Even if it may be less expensive to go directly to a university, it may be better for them as an individual to go to community college.
I was always in favor of my kids going straight to the university, but I'm already thinking about my last kid because he's getting ready to go to college and most likely to ASU. And I'm already thinking, if it's going to be too expensive because he's not going to get a lot of help, I'm still going to consider the possibility of sending him to community college, save some money, and then transfer. I mean, it would all depend on how his situation plays out once we're there, right?
Sure, yeah. Just like Chris said earlier, right? It's all about making informed decisions.
Right.
And the best way to make that informed decision is to submit the FAFSA to get the information back. FAFSA. Submit the FAFSA, get the information back from all the colleges and schools that you're looking at. They will all give you a financial aid notification, and that's what Chris and his team do. They sit down with students and families and compare each of those. They go and compare the costs. They compare what your aid is that you're receiving and what your bottom line is. And that's where the student and family, that's how they make their informed decisions.
Where is ASU reaching the students, maybe high schoolers? Do you go to campuses to offer this kind of services?
Absolutely, yeah. So we actually are partnering with the University of Arizona and Northern Arizona University. We have what we call a Tri-U tour, where we're out and about and talk broadly about all the admission requirements in our programs. We are physically in schools here in the Valley throughout the state. We have representatives that are assigned to each high school in the state.
Got it.
So students and families can go online and find out who that individual is that they can work directly with in their
that
transition.
year round or towards the end of the year?
Oh, we're year round. Yeah,
Year
so
round.
we're on that
So
same
if
school
anybody
schedule.
needs to get in touch with you at any high school, most likely
Sure, we
they
will. Yeah, we can physically go in the schools when the schools are open, but
Okay.
we are at the university all 12 months
At
of the year.
university,
We're
definitely.
available. Mhm.
And obviously, ASU is not the only one. I'm sure other universities are trying to recruit students to go to their
Sure,
university.
we have many great students in the state. Absolutely.
Definitely. Now, let me come back to you, Brad, because again, from what I mean, last time we had you on the show, I really, really wanted to do this show, and I want you to repeat some of the things that you already cover and any other things that you want to, because let us be very realistic. Student loan debt is real. And I think many are perhaps underwater. Many may be going through something. So what can you and community legal services do for the community in case somebody's out there drowning in debts? Let me just be a little bit dramatic, and they need some help.
First of all, we can assist them in getting out of a default status and into an affordable repayment program. That's the number one thing we can do. In some instances, we can actually get the debt discharged, usually if they qualify medically. And the reason this is also important is because the federal government has many ways to collect debt that private creditors don't. They can offset your federal benefits. They can take away from your Social Security benefits.
Okay, so you're talking about if someone went to school as a young person, 20 years old, 25, you're saying that if somebody can, eventually retire, be 60 plus, and the government can still go after you to collect the debt, and they'll tap into your Social Security benefits?
Absolutely. Now, they won't take the whole thing, but they can take enough that it hurts. They can take enough that it hurts.
And you're saying that throughout all these years, the interest is accruing.
Correct.
So it is super important to pay attention to the debt.
Right. Preferably before you get the notice that Social Security is going to offset some of your benefit. And again, the federal government has many tools. They can do an offset with your employer if they know you're working, and they don't have to go to court. They just send a notice and they tell the employer, we're going to start offsetting his wages. And you have a right to a hearing, but you may not have a defense. So that's why it's so important to deal with the debt before you're being financially hurt.
And how can people get in touch with Community Legal Services of Arizona?
Well, we have a website.
A website?
And we also do, they can also phone in for intakes at 602-258-3434 and follow the prompts. Or they can just stop by one of our offices. We're in 5 counties. Don't ask me to name them all, but we're in 5 counties.
I assume you are the main ones?
We are the main one in Maricopa. Yeah.
Yuma, perhaps?
Yuma, Coconino.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. This is really, really good because, again, let's be realistic. I'm sure I got a call once, and I believe I referred him to you, but he was basically desperate because he didn't know what to do with the debt. Christopher, how can people get a hold of you? And do you have other places in other parts that are not in downtown that you can mention so that folks know about it?
Right. So folks can reach us at 602-261-8847. They can call. We do everything that we do is free. We're a service of Phoenix Public Library. So if they'd like to, just have some questions or like to know more, want an actual one-on-one appointment with one of our professional advisors, then they can call 602-261-8847. We'll get you set up right away. We also have, we talk about scholarships. Our scholarship, we have a phenomenal scholarship list on our website. And the easiest way to get to our website is just to Google College Depot. We're usually and it's College Depot, not Home Depot. So keep that in mind. We are in just Google that. We're usually the first one that comes up, first or second.
Thank you.
We have our scholarship list right there, and we go through that. We We vet all the different scholarships that are out there. So check us out.
Melissa, how can people get a hold of ASU? I'm sure you're everywhere, but is there like a website perhaps?
We do have a website, asu.edu, and you can search our website for any resources needed, especially financial aid, scholarships. That's certainly available there.
Yeah. Well, thank you so very much. You know, the FAFSA experience, I mean, we hear it all the time. Everybody talks about FAFSA. I am so glad that there are organizations out there to help. And then, obviously, that doesn't just include the completing the application, but getting some advice as to careers, sure, because it is very, very important to pick the right career. And if you ever get in trouble with debt, I think you are an excellent resource to start. I actually haven't heard of any others that people can go to. So we recommend that the Community Legal Services of Arizona, and it's free, correct? You do that.
If you qualify
for free.
If you qualify, it's free.
Yes. Thank you very much. This is the end of our show. Thank you, Brad, Christopher, and Melissa for joining us. We will do this again. I think it merits doing more than one show. We really hope that you enjoyed it today. The subject was education, FAFSA, student loan debt, and other. And this was AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection. Have a great day.